Hi, everyone. Welcome to Blockchain Value Show. This is where we explore anything blockchain, crypto, Web3, metaverse, all the great stuff, the stuff that is coming. And the goal is to learn from the builders. People are who in the industry who get up every day and making this happen. Today, I have a fantastic guest. Anna, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Olga, so much for having me and welcoming me to the blockchain value community. My name is Anna Stone. I'm here on behalf of the GoodDollar protocol. GoodDollar is a crypto universal basic income protocol that has come to the world to really help to bridge the poverty gap that we see in the world, but particularly within the crypto industry, and onboard underbanked and unbanked populations into crypto and the world of Web3. We do it by distributing a crypto-based universal basic income to people, and I'm really excited to share my journey with you all today.
That sounds like such a small goal.
Very modest goal, if you will.
Very modest goal. I love it. I totally love it. And that's the unique thing about blockchain and crypto and Web3. It is a very worldly technology. It kind of started all over the world, not just in the United States. Before we're going to go to that conversation, you have a very interesting professional history. And just curious, how did you get to Web3?
Sure. So I agree with you, Olga. Everyone's personal journey to blockchain or Web3 is really their own little novel, if you will. And mine also takes me full circle in that I started my career right out of college, really wanting to work on financial inclusion issues and specifically low-income consumer finance. So this is around, I want to say around 2008, 2010. The financial crisis is happening. There's really a global reckoning and awareness to the fact that the money system, the investing system, isn't working for everyone, and in fact has lots of holes and fragilities in it. This is also paired with the same time where I think we first have the introduction of the term fintech, right? So fintech companies that are going to basically consumerize financial technology. And therefore, because we have an innovation in cell phones and we have an innovations in the financial technology, now we have the, let's say we have a new tool set upon which we can build new types of consumer financial services that are designed to reach people through their phones. And so at this point in time, 2010, 2012, there was a lot of excitement about what were the implications of this for underbanked or unbanked populations. We're talking about 5.5 billion unbanked people in the world, or 1.7 billion completely underbanked people in the world. And you started to see, I want to say, Visa, MasterCard, low-income consumer finance banks in emerging markets across the world really thinking about how do we develop basic financial services for people that are meant to be delivered to low-income populations and mobile native, right? So one of the most known use cases from this period of time was M-Pesa. They were doing mobile money throughout Kenya, and were really held up as the shining example for how you could basically provide leapfrog innovation to populations that were underserved by, let's say, the financial technologies in the US.
Yeah, because the idea is that, not everyone has to follow the same steps. What you see in Africa and some parts of Asia and then some parts of Latin America and South America is that folks are skipping the desktop part and going straight to their mobile, going straight to the newest technology, and they have a different learning curve. And so the folks are observing that we can meet them where they are and they need to be served.
Exactly. And so this is an idea that's been around now for at least 10, if not 15 years right now. So that's really what brought me into working in technology. I specifically wanted to work in that area of technology. I actually but I've been interested in technology for forever, and I actually spent most of my professional working career in big data and AI and doing enterprise stuff. And around 2017, I was, at a point where I was ready to make a career shift. And if you were working in technology and paying attention, you would have heard that there's this new thing called crypto, right? And blockchain, and this blockchain technology.
Yeah, that's when I heard of it, like around plus minus 2 years. Yeah, that's really interesting. We live parallel lives, Anna.
Exactly. And so, I mean, if you are someone like myself who was interested in, let's say, transformative technology, and I love to live in the world of what's intellectually possible, blockchain is really is a hook to bring you in. But on the practical level, I was able to recognize how, basically the blockchain and financial inclusion promise, right? So that now, because of blockchain technology, because of this innovation, because of the idea that any single person could have their own digital wallet without any sort of middleman or intermediary, I recognized that that provided a really meaningful paradigm shift, if you will, in terms of how we can meet people where they are, if you will, to your point, Olga.
So I love that background. And as I said, we live parallel lives. Your story is, to say that it's relatable is a complete understatement. But I'm going to ask you a different question. I'm going to ask you a question of, how does one get up in the morning and decide to start GoodDollar? What happened? Tell me more.
Great. So, like I said, all good ideas are really, most good ideas, I think there's a saying, are many people's brainchildren, right? And that's certainly the case with GoodDollar, which was originally the conception or the idea of Yoni Assia, who's a really successful founder and entrepreneur. He's the CEO and founder of eToro. And eToro is the world's largest social investing network. You can go on eToro and trade stocks, equities, crypto, commodities, all sorts of different assets in a social context where you're basically designed to learn from others, right? You need to learn about investing from others. And so Yoni actually, as a young man, well before the founding of eToro, first had, very much inspired by the financial crisis, started to do some writing about what would a more equal money system look like? What would a money system look like where money is more transparently created and then the wealth is more equally distributed? And so these writings were really the original concept behind, let's say, the big idea behind GoodDollar, which is actually how do you create wealth that is more fairly distributed to all people in the world in a sustainable and scalable way, right? And so this is an idea that Yoni was kicking around for many, many years. Fast forward to 2018, Yoni's founded eToro. The company is growing. We're witnessing the first real mass adoption of retail investors into blockchain and crypto. And Yoni and eToro decide that it's the moment in time where it makes sense to really invest in a research project that's designed to focus on how can we enable financial education, right? How can we really teach people about this new blockchain technology and about crypto? How do we do it in a way that provides the widest amount of financial access, right? So how do we reach the widest amount of people that are really the most underserved? And third of all, how do we do this all within the, within the context with a mission towards financial empowerment, right? That at the end of the day, we all believe that money is a tool that can be learned, that anyone can learn how to use it, that anyone can learn how to become an investor. Anyone can learn how to manage their wealth. But what you need is to be given an opportunity and some education, right? So that was the big thinking behind GoodDollar, was let's create a system that it has first and foremost education, access, and empowerment as its goal. That's why GoodDollar is actually an inherently nonprofit initiative, is because it's socially driven in its vision and its mission. And over the years, Yoni brought myself and a few other team of startup people and crypto people and community members to actually come in and build out this concept. And the way that we did it was in a very Web3 way, right? We built GoodDollar as a protocol that would be managed through a DAO.
I love it. Fun fact, I spent quite a lot of time with eToro on Capitol Hill explaining their technology to United States regulators. And I spent some time in Europe. As I said, in my prior lives, I was full-time in blockchain crypto. These guys are good guys. If you haven't checked them out, I do recommend looking what's possible with Web3. This show is, of course, not an investment advice. So do not believe Anna or me in terms of where you should put your dollars. Do your own research, talk to professionals. But if you are interested in sort of seeing what's possible in Web3, eToro has done quite a lot of good work. And they've been able to explain this technology, I would say, successfully to various stakeholders, including regulators. And for me, that's a very high bar. So I recommend checking them out if you're in the beginning of your learning curve about, Web3, blockchain, crypto, and everything that is possible. I loved, in addition that these guys very much are supportive and inspiring of what you do. Not surprising. I spent a lot of time with them, so that I'm just sort of meeting the friends of friends here. And what a small Web3 blockchain world. Curious, it's funny because I feel like I've had this conversation about Web3 blockchain, being sort of the fintech technology sort of at its core, because it kind of all started with Bitcoin, and the inclusivity and the possibility to bring the world along into the future, into the digital economy. And while very inspiring, and I've been part of these conversations now since 2012, 13, definitely 16, 17, 18, maybe a little bit less in pandemic, partially because I was focused on other things. But this is not a new conversation. This conversation is here, and it's here to stay because it's a real pain point in the world. But at what point do we stop talking and we start building? And at what point, even more importantly, do we start delivering?
Yeah, it's really a great question. And I think that we can evaluate it from a few different sides when we talk about, like blockchain adoption or blockchain for financial inclusion or crypto as a new asset class that's empowering new types of investors. And I think when we think about the topic of, inclusion, if you will, I tend to break it down into two elements. First is when we think about crypto as an asset class, right? So there is lots of data out there that suggests that whether because it's a digital asset class or an inherently new asset class, the number of people, there's an inherently more diverse body of people that hold this asset class when we break it down by gender, race, age, geography, etc. Right? So we know that relative to stocks, crypto, and equities, more Black people and people of color in the United States, for example, hold crypto as an asset within their portfolio relative to stocks and equities. We actually know that more younger people hold crypto as an asset in their portfolio relative to people that hold stocks and equity. Right? So as an asset, we begin to see that there's just more diversity in terms of the types of people that hold it as an asset. Blockchain and crypto related to the topic of inclusion, I think has to do, much more with the technology and the applications and the products and the services that we see being built, right? And I think this is the area where there's been a lot of talk and potentially an underwhelming amount of action to date, right? People who are actually using the blockchain for its, let's say, technological promise, that it's more efficient, that it's more transparent, that it avoids a middleman, et cetera. And I think these are the use cases that we really are now starting to see emerge from the area of talk and I guess into the area of deliverance. I think that, I'll give you a few examples. Probably the most well-known one is with the Strike Network, right? And doing payments on top of the Bitcoin Lightning Network, and that actually starting to be adopted where people are able to send money from Twitter accounts using stablecoins through the Bitcoin network. That's probably the most famous example brought to you by Jack Mailer's company. But if we look in the space of really the Ethereum building space, which is where I spend most of my time because that's where GoodDollar is built. Obviously, I think many on your show will have heard of the emergence of decentralized finance and DeFi or open finance in the summer of DeFi. And, DeFi came to be and it came to be known because of its really, let's say, high risk but high reward financial instruments that would enable people to say earn really high and yet unsustainable returns on say savings and loans products or commodities products or all sorts of different financial engineering. And decentralized finance, while it's been really a, let's say, it's a tricky thing, right? Because on one hand, this is the infrastructure that actually holds all of the promise. There's no middleman. Anyone can create a digital wallet. You're able to you basically get access credit, take loans, make investments without having to, pass through a banker telling you that your collateral is sufficient or evaluating you as a person or anything like that we all consider to be all parts of like the middleman and the bias that make our current system suboptimal, right? So on one hand, it's that infrastructure, but on the other hand, the reality has been most of what's going on in DeFi, most of the applications are not actually meant for people who aren't financially savvy or aren't even, have the technological know-how of a developer, right? And so there's been this disconnect between the promise of the infrastructure and what's actually happening there. And I think for the first time now in DeFi, we're actually really starting to see the emergence, the early days of applications that are really focused on, let's say, peer-to-peer payments, that are focused on savings and loans for low amounts, right? Focusing on mobile minutes and decentralized marketplaces. And a lot of this has to do with the emergence of the L2 blockchains that have actually come in and are using the Ethereum, basically the capital that's on Ethereum, to fund lower cost, higher volume transactions that are happening on these L2s. And that's how we built GoodDollar. And I think this represents, a moment of maturation in our industry there.
Yeah. Interesting. The suspense is too much. I would like to see more action. It is a well-known fact that patience is not my virtue. I've been patient enough. I would like to see the deliverables. You mentioned L2. For folks who may be new to blockchain or new-ish, I think it's a fairly advanced term. Please define so we bring everyone along on the journey.
Sure. So L2s refer to basically like how we discuss different, the blockchain architecture and how we talk about the different levels of the value chain of goods and services that operate on top of it, right? So your layer ones are, let's say, your baseline blockchains, right? Ethereum's a baseline blockchain. Solana's a baseline blockchain. But then essentially the L2s refer to scaling solutions that are designed to enable basically better functionality on top of those transactions. So Ethereum, while is known for being, let's say, very secure, very decentralized, very proven in the market, we all know that one of the challenges with Ethereum is the cost of the transactions, right? And it's expensive. And how do you actually rectify high number of transactions when, or a high number of low-cost transactions on Ethereum? Well, the answer is that it's been really impossible to do that, and you can't, right? So the solution to that has actually been to develop what we call L2s, which are different side chains or scaling solutions that actually enable the Ethereum blockchain to speak with other types of applications. So in the GoodDollar example, we have GoodDollar is a token that's issued on Ethereum. We also, because we distribute a high number of low cost transactions, we also need to be on a blockchain that's suitable for that. So we distribute our crypto UBI on an L2. It's a side chain of Ethereum called Fuse that's designed for low income mass transactions. And GoodDollar is actually a dApp, right, that sits on top of the layer 2 that enables people to access the money that's happening through that blockchain. So when we refer to that, it's the technology stack and the different roles that each one of these types of technologies play in the value chain.
I love it. So layers in the technology, Ethereum, Solana being layer 1, something like Fuse, which is between layer 1 and actual application layer to allow for better distribution, maybe smaller fees, maybe other efficiencies, maybe even security one day. And then layer 3 is something like applications that have my favorite things like smart contracts that actually automate various things that make the world a beautiful place. Love it. Let's talk about the economic model of GoodDollar, because that is, the idea is big. The poverty gap is not a question. That's well known for a long time, and it is also well known that it needs to be sold at some point. What you're trying to do is to sort of use the old school economics, right? The theory of how to make that not just a charity per se, but actually an actual, let's just call it business model, because it is sort of doing the right thing by design, taking the theory of economics and the new stuff and crypto and how the new world will work to design the world that is much more equitable by default. So I'd like to know more about that business model that will make the world a much more inclusive place.
Great. So, as I mentioned to you, when I think of financial inclusion in crypto, you can think of it in terms of like the asset class and then also the technology that actually enables, some sort of application or some sort of delivery level. And with GoodDollar, what we've done is we've actually built for both, right? So we've built a very simple digital wallet that enables anyone who has a Facebook account or a Google account to really easily sign up, create a non-custodial wallet. That's the technology, that's the application layer. What we've also done, though, is develop the asset layer. And the asset layer is the GoodDollar token, which is the key token that is delivered every day as UBI. And if you want to support global UBI for everyone, the way you do so is through becoming a GoodDollar holder in some respect. And I'll explain what all of that means. And so one of the things that we were really inspired about, one of the challenges with UBI that you get all the time is like, yeah, UBI is a great idea. Sure, everyone deserves financial security, but like, how are you going to pay for it? Right? That's the second question that everyone always asks is like, yes, but. And so that's the challenge that you have to solve for if you're thinking about how do we create a scalable, sustainable UBI. And we realized that in order to create something that was inherently scalable and inherently sustainable, that leveraging market incentives would need to be part of the game, right? So that you need to create some sort of capital incentive that encourages the system to continue to grow as adoption happens, right? And so, because nothing is now at the same time, the question is, we're doing this based off of blockchain technology, but no idea is a new idea, right? And so we looked, really carefully at what had been done in the social impact investing space and the social impact bond space, where the idea is that you're able to attract mission-minded capital, if you will, that wants to see a particular change in the world. And when they are able to commit their funds towards that cause, you're able to provide them with the financial return or the financial incentive for doing that, right? So we thought to create a universal basic income system that was based around the same types of principles, just using blockchain and crypto tokenomics, right? So we did this through basically employing, I want to say, two instruments, right? One, we used the idea of diverted interest, right? So savings and loans. So as many of you know, staking your funds, or locking your crypto in a smart contract, and it being loaned out and earned interest has been one of the most popular adoptions in DeFi. It's resulted in the enormous growth of protocols such as Compound and Aave, et cetera, and has appeared as one of the most popular use cases. And so we thought to ourselves, okay, well, what if we could use, and people like it for a reason, right? They like it because they're locking their tokens and they're earning passive income. And so we thought of how can we use the exact, same mechanism and same approach, just that when people's, basically when the yield is being generated, it's being generated to pay for a UBI pool. And the people who are the original stakers, the people who are the original supporters, earn back their interest, but they earn it back in the UBI token. So they earn it back in GoodDollar tokens, right? And this is the method that essentially is designed to enable people or companies to take a large amount of principal. They don't have to donate it. They don't have to do anything else with it. They just have to direct the earnings of it towards our cause. And in return for that, it's not like you're not donating your yield outright. You still continue to earn a relative market rate yield. However, you earn it in GoodDollar tokens, right? And so what is the GoodDollar token? The GoodDollar token is actually a reserve-based token that is used to both incentivize the people who put capital into the ecosystem, but is also the same token that's given away as UBI to hundreds of thousands of people every single day. Okay. And so the GoodDollar token is not a stable coin. It's reserve backed with stable coins. Okay. And what does this mean? This means that as more people stake and more interest is earned, more money goes into the GoodDollar reserve. This means more GoodDollars are minted and go out into the ecosystem and are distributed as UBI. And they're in the hands of people who actually are beginning to use their GoodDollars to do all sorts of different transactions, right? They're beginning to use them for peer-to-peer transactions in a crypto marketplace. They're beginning to use them for donations. We have people who have started to exchange GoodDollars for mobile minutes. And so what we're creating here, the GoodDollar economy, is essentially, it's a balance between supply and demand, right? It's designed to grow that as more people want to support crypto UBI, more UBI is minted. That means that UBI is distributed to recipients and to the people who are funding it. And so essentially what we've created is that the GoodDollar economy is backed by DAI, right? So there's real collateral in the reserve, and its adoption and the rate of minting is actually based off of the supply and demand for GoodDollars on the whole. And so what we've created is an ecosystem that's designed to balance itself, right? And really avoid the volatility and the pumps and dumps of the crypto market, where there's so much exposure to prices, and is really designed to be an economy that grows as this idea of as market adoption and a desire to see a scalable, sustainable UBI grows in the world.
No pressure. You're just building a new economy. And judging from history, many of them fail.
Yeah.
So no pressure.
No pressure.
You can do it. It's not a small task, but it's a medium to large task. It's a big task.
I mean, listen, there's a caveat there, right? You're pointing out something that's really true, which is that it's a very big, audacious goal. And there's a few, and I'd say that there are a few ways to think about that. First and foremost, I think GoodDollar, it was formed to be it's always been a nonprofit experiment, and it's designed to be a nonprofit experiment always. So unlike we're not the only crypto UBI project out there. We're not the only crypto UBI, experiment out there, if you will. And we've always been quite humble about the fact that this is a very audacious mission, and this isn't something that we alone are able to solve. That's one of the reasons why we built it to be a DAO and community driven and community run, right? The other element of that is, you mentioned the word business model. And actually, because we're a nonprofit, there's no business model, right? So we actually think of crypto UBI as a public good, right? So our approach is, how can we actually build the infrastructure of something that is designed to live on forever, that can be managed and adapted by a community of people through a DAO, through the blockchain technology, so that we are actually building and releasing into the world a public good that's designed to outlive us, and where other people are able to take it forward. And so, we've open sourced everything that we build. We are giving out grants to the community to actually encourage them to take what we've built and customize it for their needs. And it's exactly because of what you said, Olga. It's an extremely audacious challenge, and not one that any one group of people are going to solve, or any one company or any one protocol. It's through actually us providing the tools that enable other groups of people to build off of this innovation, take it forward, make it useful.
Yeah. By the way, when I talk about business models, to me, that's an equal opportunity in for-profit and non-profit. You're just optimizing different things. You're optimizing the impact and inclusion, and you measure it in a different way. I do think that the wave of new impact projects will be much more transparent, having sort of similar reporting to the world about its ability to reach its target, and build communities around that, and account to its constituency one way or another. And I do like when sustainable projects and impactful projects build mechanism where, their ability to cover their operating costs, because there are operating costs to any profitable or non-profit business, because it takes money to hire great engineers and leaders like yourself. At some point you have to eat and send your kids to school.
Yep.
And do all kinds of stuff called life.
Yep.
And so what I love about the impact projects on Web3 is this accountability, this community building, and kind of reporting on your goals and measuring them in a different way. That's a whole different conversation. But coming to the end, I want to talk to you about sort of the community and unique visitors and users and supporters. 166 people without advertising, 1,000. How did you get it? What's the strategy? What tips and tricks you have for the folks who are thinking of doing, stuff for good?
Sure. So this is where I'll do my pitch on where to find us. So if you are looking to learn more about GoodDollar, go to GoodDollar.org. And if you're looking to learn more about our adoption to date, you can click through from GoodDollar.org to not only sign up for your own GoodDollar wallet, but you can click through to our dashboard. And I think GoodDollar stands out from other crypto projects, just in terms of the breadth of users, the diversity of users, and the engagement level of the users that we have. So over our 18-month life since we launched the project, we've had nearly 500,000 different unique claimers. of good dollars who have signed up for Web3 wallets and have basically claimed crypto UBI. Within that, we have around, it varies month by month, but we have around between 80 to 100,000 daily active users from that community. Okay.
By the way, that is not small. That is, numbers are numbers. Sometimes numbers are useful to look in context. So perhaps maybe you can put it in context. Just, I appreciate the largest of this number, but I want to make sure everyone who listens to this does as well.
Sure. So I mean, I think for context, if you guys go, this makes GoodDollar one of the top 2 or top 5 dApps by daily active users in all of blockchain. If you go on dappradar.com, which actually monitors, blockchain dApp usage, you'll see that typically the most popular is Uniswap. Uniswap sometimes has, Uniswap is the backbone of the entire DeFi industry. And for reference, typically Uniswap has around 100,000 daily active users a day. GoodDollar rivals the same, right? So even though we're operating on, where most of those users are happening on the side chain, on the Fuse side chain, in terms of daily active users, GoodDollar is up there with the top blockchain dApps in the ecosystem. That includes all sorts of gaming apps and all sorts of wild apps across different.
So the good is winning. The good is important. It turns out that
the good is in the running. We're in the running. We're in the race.
I love it.
I mean, the thing that makes me get up and get out of bed every day is that community of people, right? So it's not just 100,000 people sounds like a lot, and it is. But I've had the good fortune of, actually getting a sense of who these people are and what they're doing and why they're here, right? And I think it's worth noting that the most engaged GoodDollar users are coming from the places, the geographies, the countries that really need it the most, right? So our users are, for the most part, congregate from Brazil, from Nigeria, from Vietnam, from Argentina, from Venezuela. Countries that are, on the most part, where there's a high degree of inflation, a high degree of economic instability, but also relatively high degree of smartphone connectivity, relatively high levels of education, and advanced crypto industries. And so as as we have gotten to know who our users are, it's incredible to hear the stories of people because we recently did a survey. I wish I could share the more formal results, but essentially 70% of the people who have found GoodDollar have at least an advanced, a college degree or above, and they're making per household under $8,000 or $10,000 a year. Okay, so these are people who are highly educated, very entrepreneurial, very curious, highly connected to the digital economy, actively looking for solutions, right? Actively looking for ways to improve their lives and are looking to blockchain and are looking to crypto to find this, right? And it's just incredible to see how creative, committed people are, how willing they are to really willing to learn about DeFi, learn about new types of financial innovations, really trying to understand how they work, really trying to understand how could this improve my life or the life of my family? Because, like I said, these are the underbanked people of the world, right? It has nothing to do with being undereducated or underconnected or under anything. You're just financially underserved, right? So this community of people gives me a tremendous amount of hope that, this, whether it's through GoodDollar or through other solutions, that this is inherently the right paradigm that's going to give these people a better chance of, succeeding and connecting and building that wealth that they're so desperately seeking.
You and I can talk all day for many reasons, including because we care deeply for this mission and because we both like to talk. This is wonderful. You've shared some great things. We have exactly 2 minutes. So you have a minute and I have a minute to say goodbye. Briefly, what is next for GoodDollar?
Great. So we're continuing to grow, and grow means trying to find more people who want to support funding the UBI ecosystem. So whether you're an individual investor or someone who works for a company who's looking for ways to get involved and support crypto UBI for all, I'm really easy to find. You can find me on LinkedIn or at The Real Stone on Twitter. And for our users, we're going to continue to, for the members that are really building off of GoodDollar, we're going to continue to do all that we can to make the GoodDollar UBI amounts as big as possible and make GoodDollar as useful as possible. I encourage anyone who's, we run for people who are in the industry, we run all sorts of programs where people can become advocates for GoodDollar and actually crowdfund for good causes in GoodDollars and, really raise money for community charities. We have one going on right now called Crypto for Her, which is all about crowdfunding for community causes that support women and girls around the world. And so if this is something that sounds interesting to you, or you'd like to get involved in any way, please find me. We're looking for more and more people to always help us build the community. It's not something we can ever do alone.
I love it. Do that. I can't summarize it better. And I really enjoyed this conversation. As I mentioned, we can talk for a long time, and we probably should at some point.
Definitely.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining and sharing all of that. It was great. And I know that the folks who tuned in and who will be listening to this recording will be available for a number of months on LinkedIn. It will also come out in podcasts and on YouTube in a few months as well, will benefit as well. I just love that we can rebuild the financial reality we're in today to include the rest of the world. And by the way, the rest of the world is not a small place. It's a huge, massive opportunity. And imagine the Renaissance, the world Renaissance we will experience. We will bring everyone else to be part of the economy and the world. I think it's a really a huge promise of this technology. For me, the biggest takeaway is that good is in the mix and good is winning. And on that very optimistic note, I want to thank you for joining this conversation. And I look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you so much. If you have any recommendations of who else can join this conversation and help us all learn together, let me know. You can put it in the comments here. You can directly message me on LinkedIn. I will respond and make sure that we learn from the people who are building today. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.